It was a quiet Saturday afternoon, the kind of day where the sun streams through the windows of a grocery store, making the dust in the air look like it's dancing. For 7-year-old Lily, this was the day. She had been waiting all week, and clutched in her small hand was a single, crinkled $5 bill. Now this wasn't just money. It was a week's worth of patience, of helping with chores and saving every single penny. It was her ticket to the giant, 6-tiered chocolate bar she'd been dreaming about, the one sitting on the candy aisle shelf like a delicious trophy. As she walked through the automatic doors, her heart thumping with excitement, she had no idea that this ordinary trip was about to become the most extraordinary day of her life. At the checkout, there was just one person ahead of her, an old man. His back was stooped, the elbows of his jacket were worn thin, and his hands trembled as he pushed a few items forward. Just a loaf of bread, a carton of milk, and a can of soup. When the total came up, the man started digging through his pockets, his face getting redder with each empty search. He pulled out a handful of coins, but it just wasn't enough. I'm so sorry, he whispered, his voice cracking with embarrassment. I really thought I had more. The cashier let out a little sigh, a flicker of impatience on her face, and the man's shoulders just slumped in defeat. But Lily didn't see any of that. She just saw a man who was hungry. Without a second thought, she walked right up, stood on her tiptoes to reach the counter, and placed her precious $5 bill on the belt. "This is for him," she said, her voice small but perfectly clear. The old man turned, his eyes instantly welling with tears. He knelt down slowly, his tired eyes meeting hers, and he didn't say a word. But the look of profound, silent gratitude on his face was a thank you louder than any shout. As Lily and her mother left the store, the chocolate bar was completely forgotten. Her mom, Sarah, had been watching from a few feet away, her heart swelling with both pride and a familiar ache. They didn't have much. Sarah worked 2 jobs just to keep their small apartment, and she knew exactly how much that $5 bill meant to her daughter. She had seen Lily checking her little jar every morning, counting the coins, her excitement building each day. Now, walking home hand in hand, Sarah squeezed it gently. "You have the biggest heart I've ever known, my sweet girl," she said, her voice thick with emotion. Lily just smiled up at her, a pure, simple smile. "His tummy was hungry, Mommy. Now it won't be." They went home to their simple life, a life filled more with love than things. They had a modest dinner of pasta and sauce, and then Lily sat at the kitchen table drawing, her world already having moved on from the grocery store. She didn't expect a reward. She didn't even think about the old man again. In the simple world of a 7-year-old, she saw a problem, and she helped fix it. For her, the story ended right there. But miles away, in a small, run-down house on the other side of town, the story was just getting started. The old man sat at his table, with the bread and milk in front of him. He looked at a faded photograph on his wall, a picture of him younger and stronger, surrounded by dozens of men in leather jackets, all of them smiling. He picked up an old rotary phone, his trembling fingers dialing a number he hadn't called in years. A few hours later, as evening settled over their quiet street, a strange sound broke the silence. It started as a low rumble, like a thunderstorm far off in the distance, but it kept getting louder and deeper until it was vibrating through the floorboards of their apartment. Sarah rushed to the window and peered into the twilight. Her heart stopped. One by one, headlights cut through the darkness as a seemingly endless line of motorcycles turned onto their street. And they weren't just passing through, they were stopping. The sound grew into a deafening roar as dozens, then hundreds of bikes filled the road, their engines idling like the growl of a great beast. Lights flicked on in neighboring houses, curtains were pulled back. Faces appeared in windows, all of them looking scared and confused. These weren't weekend hobbyists on shiny new bikes. These were bikers, dressed in worn leather vests covered with patches, their faces weathered and serious. Sarah's heart hammered against her ribs. She grabbed Lily, pulling her away from the window. "Stay back from the door," she whispered, her mind racing. What could they possibly want? Was this about the man at the store? Was it all a misunderstanding? Suddenly, the roar of the engines cut out, plunging the street into a tense, eerie silence. And then, a single, gentle knock echoed from their front door. Sarah took a deep, shaky breath and slowly opened the door, leaving the chain lock on. Standing on her doorstep was a man so big he seemed to fill the entire doorway. He had a long gray beard and arms covered with tattoos, but his eyes were surprisingly gentle. "Ma'am," he said, his voice a low, respectful gravel, "sorry to disturb you. We're looking for the little girl who lives here." Sarah's protective instincts kicked in. "Why?" she asked, her voice trembling but firm. Before the man could answer, a familiar figure stepped out from behind him. It was the old man from the grocery store. He was wearing a clean leather vest now, and that look of defeat was completely gone, replaced by a warm, proud smile. "It's all right, ma'am," he said softly. "My name is Henry, but my friends all call me Pops." He gestured to the hundreds of silent bikers lining the street. "And these are my friends." Henry went on to explain that he was the founder of their motorcycle club, a group they called the Guardians of Grace. For decades they had ridden together, a family forged on the open road. But after his wife passed away, crushing medical bills had left him with absolutely nothing. He'd been too proud to ask his brothers for help. "I was lost," Henry said, his voice choking up. "Not just broke, but I'd lost hope. Your daughter, she didn't see an old, broken-down biker. She just saw a person who needed help. When I told my family what she did, how she gave up her own treat for a total stranger without a second thought, well, they refused to let that stand." The giant biker, whose name was Bear, stepped forward again. "Our club has one unbreakable rule. We repay kindness with a tidal wave of loyalty. Your little girl reminded our founder of who we are. She reminded all of us, and we don't repay that kind of honor with a simple thank you." He knelt down, getting eye level with Lily, who was peeking out from behind her mom. He handed her a small, beautifully crafted leather jacket made just for her. Stitched in gold thread over a patch of an angel's wings was her name, Lily. "You're an honorary guardian now, little one," he said with a wink. But that was just the beginning. The bikers had come prepared. One of them, a mechanic, had already taken a look at Sarah's beat-up old car and promised he'd have it running like new by tomorrow. Another, a contractor, pointed to a water stain on the apartment ceiling and said his crew would be there on Monday to fix the roof, no charge. They started unloading boxes from their bikes in a support truck, boxes filled with enough groceries to last for months. And tucked inside one of those boxes was a lifetime supply of the 6-tiered chocolate bar Lily had so easily given up. Finally, Henry stepped forward and handed Sarah a thick envelope. He said, "This is from all of us, to help you get back on your feet so you can focus on raising this incredible little girl. Please, let us do this. She gave me back my dignity. It's the least we can do to give you some peace." Tears streamed down Sarah's face as she looked from the sea of bikers to her daughter, who was now proudly trying on her new jacket. She realized that Lily's one selfless act had started a ripple of kindness that had just come back to them as a tidal wave. That night, the roar of hundreds of engines wasn't a sound of intimidation, it was a salute. A simple $5 bill, given from the heart of a child, did more than just buy a loaf of bread. It reignited the spirit of a brotherhood, restored a man's hope, and changed the lives of a small family that deserved it most. The story of what happened on that quiet street became a local legend, a powerful reminder that you never ever know how far a small act of kindness can travel. It just goes to show that what you give to the world has a funny way of coming back to you, often in the most unexpected and magnificent ways. Kindness is never wasted. It's the one investment that always pays off. If this story touched your heart, please like, subscribe, and share this video. Let's spread the message that a single act of compassion can create a ripple that goes far beyond anything we can see.